Hello everyone, welcome to the Cinema Analysis channel. I am Juzo. This channel will explore the hidden truths of films that are not usually revealed. Today I want to talk about Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I want to talk about why was the farmer in the film whistled. Probably most of you don't think it important, but actually it is essential. If you haven't seen the film, I suggest you watch the film first before watching this video, so let's get started. This film was released in 1977. It was in the middle of the Cold War. The US and the Soviet Union were pointing nuclear weapons at each other, and only 2 years had passed since the end of the Vietnam War. The film was written and directed by Steven Spielberg, whom we all know. He was born and raised in a Jewish family, and his parents never got along and later divorced. This would later influence his style as a film director. This film is a portrait of his childhood, his family, and his problems. Originally, Spielberg asked director and screenwriter Paul Schrader to write the script. However, the story he wrote was not what Spielberg had hoped for. The story is said to be as follows. The main character's job was to be a debunker, exposing UFO sightings and evidence of their existence as bogus. One day he actually witnesses a UFO and is converted from a UFO denier to a UFO believer. He becomes obsessed with the idea of contacting UFOs again. After a long search for aliens, he discovers that they have never been to Earth. They were in contact with the hero's brain. Spielberg didn't like the script and decided to write it himself. The finished story was as follows. Roy Neary is an electrician with a wife and 3 kids. He is investigating a sudden power cut when he encounters a strange phenomenon. He becomes obsessed with it and is fired from his job. His behavior was so out of character that his wife and children run away. He madly creates models of mountains. In the same way, many people became obsessed with drawing mountains. This mountain is Devil's Tower in Wyoming. It is said that aliens appear there, but the government tries to hide it from the public. When Roy and his friends reach Devil's Tower, they find that the government is secretly making contact with aliens there. Roy is chosen by the aliens to board a UFO and travel into space. The shark was the villain in the previous Jaws film, but the troublemaker in this was the mayor. He tried to hide the shark from the public because he was afraid of losing tourists. In the same way, Spielberg wanted to portray a system that hides the truth. But Schrader's script doesn't have that element. Spielberg's protagonist is an ordinary man, whereas Schrader's is an expert. In many ways, the two men disagreed. However, the area where their values were most incompatible was in their religious beliefs. The name of the protagonist in Schrader's script was Paul. It is both Schrader's name and the name of a Christian saint. Paul, who had oppressed Christianity because he was a Jew, suddenly lost his sight one day. Through the prayers of a Christian named Ananias, he was able to see and was converted. This is the origin of the famous phrase, "The scales fall from your eyes." It is said that Schrader's script was based on this episode. He then describes, "I thought this was a religious story." The title is Kingdom Come, a quote from Matthew. And the New Testament also describes it like this. "No man hath seen God at any time. If we love one another, God dwells in us, and his love is perfected in us." First Epistle of John, chapter 4, verse 12. God dwelleth in us. This phrase is quite important. If the aliens mean God in the script, they don't land on the earth but reside in his mind. Schrader's script describes it that way. It is a Christian idea. The story, based on a man who had converted to Christianity, might have been offensive to Spielberg, who was Jewish. And Spielberg's script became religious as well. It represented the Jewish worldview. The story has its origins in the Old Testament. The film on the television in Roy's house was The Ten Commandments, directed by Cecil B. DeMille. Like Moses who was led to the Mount Sinai, Roy was led to the Devil's Tower. Mountains are the places where man meets God. A chariot of fire appears before the prophet Elijah and takes him to heaven. This is also quite similar to the end of the film. Spielberg is Jewish, and much of the film's worldview is thought to have its origins in the Old Testament. The word religion comes from the idea of reconnecting with God. Just as Elijah was taken to heaven in a chariot of fire, so Roy traveled into space in a spaceship. It is reasonable to think that the aliens represent God. The film was such a success that it brought Columbia Pictures back from the brink of bankruptcy. It became a social phenomenon because it succeeded in capturing the aspirations of the people of that time. At the time, the United States and the Soviet Union were engaged in a Cold War. They threatened each other with nuclear weapons. The two great powers of the world create the greatest crisis. This means that there is no authority on earth that can bring peace. There is no authority that can bring happiness. So, where is this authority? Only in the universe. Couldn't aliens, who are far superior to us, bring order to our war-torn planet? Such was the desire. Going out of the world might solve the problem that cannot be solved in the world. Something you learn outside could be used to solve it, or going outside can let you forget the problem inside. If we can't solve the problem on an individual level, we will try to solve it in the group. If we can't solve it in the group, we go to the larger community. If it gets bigger and bigger, we think about solving it at the national level. If that doesn't work, it becomes an alliance of several countries, then the international community as a whole. If that doesn't solve the problem, then perhaps the occult, the cosmos, and God are the way forward. In the end, it all comes down to religion. SF has stories about people who, despairing of the state of humanity, unite with virtuous aliens. Arthur C. Clarke's Childhood's End is a classic example. Many epigons of it have been made. This is one of them. The worry that this world is not worth adapting to, counterculture, spread. That is why the story of integration with a higher being was accepted. That value system is similar to religion. To give oneself to religion is to renounce the secular world. The Buddha renounced his family to become a monk. Countless others have done the same, like Roy. This is the story of a man who refuses to fit into society and throws himself into the world he wants. Now let's talk about the farmer. At the beginning of the story, a group of people had gathered on a mountainside in anticipation of the arrival of UFOs. One of them was an infant named Barry. It is unlikely that Barry would have found the place like an adult. The people there can only be said to have been led there. Roy, the main character, also goes there. The farmer is there, whistling and waiting for the UFO. He is played by an actor called Robert Blossom. Why was he whistling? The song he was whistling is called "She'll Be Coming Around the Mountain." If you search YouTube, you will find a number of videos of this song. There are several animations, all of which show a woman coming around the mountain on a horse. She is both a pronoun for woman and a pronoun for vehicle in English. Therefore, she be coming around the mountain can be taken to mean that the vehicle, not the woman, is coming. As the vehicle is coming around the mountain, the farmer whistles this tune. But this is only a superficial interpretation. The real meaning lies elsewhere. She'll Be Coming Around the Mountain is a parody. The original song is a black spiritual called When the Chariot Comes. Oh, who will drive the chariot when she comes? King Jesus, he'll be driver when she comes. She'll be loaded with bright angels. She'll be neither rock nor totter. She will run so level and steady. She will take us to the portals. What this song expresses that God will take us to heaven in His chariot. The song, sung by black people, means that no matter how hard this life is, there is hope that we'll be happy in heaven. Some people think that the heaven of black spirituals is not necessarily the afterlife. In any case, to escape from desperation by the power of God has connection with the theme of the film. No matter how hard your life is, there is a great being who can help you. This is probably why Spielberg had the farmer whistle this song. However, Spielberg later changed his mind. The main character in E.T. was a boy who couldn't fit into society like Spielberg in his childhood, and Roy. But in the end, he decides to stay on Earth. Spielberg has made a film that shows that no matter how small you are, no matter how unworthy the world you live in is, you will live there. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked this video, please subscribe and give me thumbs up.